So what I wanted to mention today, and it's something that I mention about this time of year every year, because some people tend to forget. Some people don't even think about it. And that is get all your equipment out. Grab it all. Lay it out on the table and give everything a once over. All right, it's time for cleaning. It's time for checking things, make sure that everything's in order. Repair anything that needs to be repaired. Get rid of anything that has been cluttering up your bag. Because I know over the year what happens with my camera bag is because I shoot a lot of events. Uh, Things kind of sneak into that bag that kind of settles to the bottom. And the typical camera bags, they have the padded, the padded section and then the outer case. And it usually falls underneath that padding and, out of sight, out of mind. So every year I'll dump the case out, I'll tear it apart and I'll clean it out because, well, one, you get the dust bunnies, but two, if you're a snacker on location like I am, sometimes you get crumbs in there, and then just little notes and things kind of settle to the bottom that it just you look at it and go, ooh, that needs to be gotten rid of. All right. But more importantly, it's about maintaining your camera gear. All right. So if you haven't done a sensor cleaning in a while, you might want to consider doing a sensor cleaning. If you are uncomfortable cleaning the sensors yourself, take it to a camera shop. Sensor cleaning is relatively inexpensive. And it just, it's a good idea to just have them clean that sensor on a regular basis. Also, you might want to clean your lenses, okay, especially the inside element, because sometimes the outside you'll take a little lens wipe to it on the occasion, but oftentimes that inside part of the lens never sees a cleaning until you start noticing those sensor spots. Okay. Um, do you guys know how to check your sensor for sensor spots by any chance?
No, I do not.
You do
I
not?
don't.
You don't.
What
Okay.
do you shoot, a white card?
Yes. So get yourself. It doesn't have to be a white card. It could be anything light and bright. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to set your aperture to the smallest opening. All right. And just shoot that white card. All right. And what's going to happen is all those sensor spots will show up. All right. So when you open up that image in your Lightroom or Photoshop, you're gonna see all these like dark spots all over the place. Okay. But just remember that if you're looking at spots on the top of your image in the camera, those spots are on the bottom of your sensor. All right, because everything's flipped. All right. So, consider cleaning your camera, cleaning your lenses, dusting out your equipment bags. One thing that I noticed I had to do, because I recently did an event where I needed several light stands, and I put a light on one of my light stand, and it started slowly lowering itself. And what happens is over time, these bolts get loosened up. I don't know how many times I've been on location with group shoots, and somebody has had a camera tripod that has one leg that's loose, and all of a sudden you see the tripod slowly doing this because one of the legs just doesn't have the grip strength. Uh, and the nice thing about most of these, unless you got the $30 Walmart special, Most of these, you can take a screwdriver or a hex wrench or something to tighten them up. Okay. Uh, Word of warning here. Let me grab my tripod. So with these tripods, let me see if I can stretch this out. Hooey. Okay. With these tripods, uh, if you have the kind that has the lever, let me see if I can do this. All right, the lever kind, right? And if it slides, most of these have right at the lever, they're going to have a little screw. Okay, either a hex nut or a Phillips or something. All right. What you need to do is just tighten it up. All right, but you have to be careful how you do it. All right, the best way to do it is to unlatch it. Okay, so that this goes up and down. All right, give it a.
While we climb this mountain, I want to tell you guys.
Whoa. Go ahead and mute yourself, Brian. I think that was you. Thanks. All right. What you want to do is give it a quarter turn. All right. Latch it and then push on it. If it gives, unlatch it again, give it a quarter turn, and repeat the process. Okay. Don't try to tighten it with this is closed. It's not going to do it unless you really crank on it, and you don't want to crank on these things. All right. It's a good way to damage these. All right. What you want to do is just loosen it, give it a quarter turn, latch it back up, and see if it'll give. All right. You should. I mean, I'm really pushing on mine, and it's not giving. Okay. You're gonna see similar connectors like this with your light stand. So if you have a light stand that has these type of latches, it's going to be the same way. All right. The other type, and I'm not a big fan of the twist locks, so I don't know if I have one with a twist lock. Twist locks are a little bit different. They require disassembly. All right. The way a twist lock works is that between the two sections of pipe that fit together. All right. So if you have an outer pipe and an inner pipe, right where those two meet, there's typically a piece of plastic. Higher end camera stands or older ones will have a piece of leather. Okay, that's kind of beveled, and it's that bevel that allows the twist lock to kind of tighten up on it. It's a pressure lock. Sometimes with the plastic ones, they tend to break, and if it breaks, what often happens is when you collapse it, those pieces tend to fall out from where that channel is supposed to be, and they end up in your tube. And actually, if you shake your tripod, you'll actually hear that piece of plastic, sliding or bouncing up and down that tube. All right. At that point, you literally have to disassemble that leg, get that piece of plastic out, and just use a little super glue to put it back together. Put it back in place, and then just crank down on it. All right. But they're not super difficult to work on. They really aren't. Check your batteries. All right. Check your electronics that have been sitting around for a while with batteries in it. It's not a good idea. But I know with me, I got so many friggin' electronic items that some get used more than others. And, they tend to sit on a shelf. with the battery still in there. So this is why I said it's a great idea to just get all your stuff and just spread it out on the table. Put all your electronics together. Put all your tripods together. Put all your light stands together. And then just go through them one at a time. If you're, oh, another thing about tripods, if you're a nature photographer and you're putting your tripod in mud and water and sand and all
Yes,
that
I
good
know
stuff,
about that. I know
yeah,
about
okay,
this.
you do know.
Taking it apart
Yeah.
and clean it out.
You need to, yeah, you need to disassemble it and clean that
Yep.
crap out of there. Because what happens if, sand gets into wrong places and just doesn't make that tripod work effectively. And it's a easy fix. Easy fix. It really is. Okay. Where was, oh, electronics. All right. So pull out all the batteries and one, check the state of the battery. Okay. When a battery starts corroding, you will know. There's absolutely no question about it. All right. Hopefully, you don't get it to the point where it's the battery has corroded so much that it's expanded and exploded. Okay. Because
Or it gets your contacts rust, gets
or
oxidation on the
yeah.
contacts. It
Well,
doesn't make
the oxidation is okay. It's when the acid starts coming out and
yeah, an idiot.
eating. That's when it's really bad. Oxidation's fairly easy to overcome. You can get Q-tips and paper towels. I've used alcohol. If it's really bad, you can get some that lime away stuff. You can use lighter fluid, all right, to get it, at anything that's kind of stuck to it. All right. And then just make sure that everything's clean and dry before you put it away. All right. The other thing I've noticed about some electronic devices is the battery compartments. One end is a fixed plate, but the other end, usually the negative end, has that spring. Over time, you can have spring fatigue and you're not making, the appropriate contact. That's also a very easy fix. What I normally do is I get a chopstick and I work it into that coil, into the, how it coils down to kind of like a pyramid shape. I get that chopstick near the end and just kind of pull it out in order to put a little bit more tension on the battery. That's a fairly easy fix. But specifically, you want to look for any kind of corrosion, definitely any battery leaks. You want to just get rid of those, and you need to clean those contacts really, really good if you have any kind of corrosion started. Because if you don't clean it up well, that corrosion is still going to continue. Not only will it do damage to that spring, but because it's in contact with the battery, it'll start the whole cycle again. So you want to avoid that. Okay. If you have studio equipment, you guys, none of you do. I got a ton of backdrops that I gotta go through and just organize. They've gone out of control, but little things like that. The other thing is if you have gear that been sitting around and you haven't used it for eons, reach out to some of your friends and see if anybody can use some equipment. You could either resell it, or if you feel generous, just give it away to somebody who can use it. Recently a buddy of mine just got themselves into their first studio, so I had a whole bunch of equipment just gathering dust. I said, here, have at it. Giving him a good head start on getting his studio going. So made me feel good. He was very appreciative, and it's a win-win situation all the way around. Okay. Let's see. If you have any kind of modifiers, soft boxes, anything with fabrics and things like that, you might want to, see what condition they're in. Yeah, if you know somebody who's handy with a sewing machine, some of those repairs can be fairly easy. You just do a quick, because sometimes what happens is those seams come loose. I know with some of my older soft boxes, the I don't know, the thread they use is like relatively cheap, and I'm seeing that there's fraying going on, and some of the seams tend to split a little bit. Just run it through the sewing machine once with some better thread, and you're good to go. It just adds life to equipment that, why buy new when all it takes is, 5 minutes with somebody who's handy with a sewing machine. It just doesn't make sense, right? Um, the one thing I would suggest, if you have a soft box that is ancient and the diffusion material has yellowed, that might be a consideration for upgrading. And just because you're constantly battling against that color cast from that yellowed material, which, although some people, they kind of like the warm tone that it gives them. Go figure. But anyway, so springtime, time to do spring cleaning, get all your gear out. If anybody has any questions on how to fix something, give me a holler. I pretty much done it all, from repairing soft boxes to rebuilding tripods. I've done it, I've done it. So I'm more than happy to help you out. All right. So that's that speech for today. And like I said, I don't have anything set up. So if you guys got questions about
Oh, yes.
anything,
I have a question.
yeah.
I'm not going to show the picture because I really wasn't happy with it. And I used a monopod instead of a tripod because I went out and shot the moon at the last minute. I was half tired and just, my attitude is if you're tired, you're going to make mistakes, break equipment. So I knew I was going to be okay with a tripod and the camera in my hand, and I wasn't sure about anything else. But Friday night, the sky was not clear, but when the
Right.
moon came up, it was yellow.
Okay.
I could not get the moon to be yellow in my not the word prints in my images. I could not get the moon to be yellow.
That's a color balance thing.
Ah, I had it in auto. I have to remember this is being recorded. I was going to say a word. It's like, no, thank you, Doc.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is the second time you've solved a white balance problem. Remember when you came to the senior center?
Oh yeah. I remember
The
that.
filter,
Yeah.
because I tried to help her with it. I thought the camera was broken.
Yeah.
It was set to cool. Okay, I always shoot an auto white balance.
Yeah.
I should have.
See
I
that
should have.
I don't like that auto white balance because, well, I don't like auto anything.
Okay.
Seriously, I don't like auto anything.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when auto can save you, either time or effort or something, but I'm very selective about what auto I am applying. All right. And auto white balance, I never do. For and I've discussed this. I like you guys know, when it comes to certain things, I'm very lazy about, like gear. Not lazy because I don't want to do it, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to have to remember to change settings. In this situation, I got to be at these settings. In this situation, I got to have these settings. I don't want to do that. All right. The other thing is, in post-production, I don't want to be bouncing all over the place because the automatic settings have sent me all over the place. All right. I tend to do the majority of my editing in Lightroom. And in Lightroom, I can see the grid and I can see a block of images. So if I'm looking at a row of images that were taken within a few seconds to a few minutes within each other, I know I can probably edit those in a group. But if the white balance is different on every one, this one's warm, this one's cool, this one's warm, this one's warmer, this one's cool again, that's going to drive me up the wall, because now instead of working in a group, I now have to work individually. So I've said it before, I tend to take my white balance and I either keep it on shade or what's the one with the shade or cloudy.
Okay.
All right, one of those two. Okay. And usually if it's cloudy, usually if I'm outdoors, it'll be on cloudy. If I'm indoor, I might switch it over to shade. But those two are so close to each other that if I forget, I don't care. All my images are going to come out very warm, but they're all going to be the same amount of warmness. Okay. So if I need to cool things off by X number of degrees, it's very simple. I can select the group of them and actually here, let me show you. Okay. I can take, like, for example, I can take these three and in the quick develop, all right, right here, you have save preset and then you have white balance. And if you notice, actually, let me zoom in. If you notice that there's no sliders here, unlike the develop module, all right, we are in the library module here. There are no sliders. Okay. There is it looks like a tape player. All right. The ones with the double, well, for temperature, I think it goes down by 1,000. And these, I don't remember. I know with the exposure and everything, the double is like one stop, and the single arrow is a third of a stop. Okay. I don't know how that translates to temperature and tint. Okay. All I know is it's a lot or a little. Okay. And that's all I care, because I'm usually editing visually anyway. Okay. But the nice thing is, if I have 3 images selected here. Okay. If all 3 images have different white balances, okay, which you would get, for example, with an automatic white balance setting, all right, if I use these settings here in the library module and I click once, like on the double arrow going to the left, it's going to cool my image, okay, but it's going to move each 3 of them independently that much. All right, so the double is a lot. Okay, it's gonna push them down, but it's gonna keep the same ratio. All right, so if one is at like 3,300, the other one is at 3,500, and the other one is at 3,800. Okay, it's gonna keep whatever that difference, and it's just gonna shift them to the blue. Okay. Whereas if you go into the develop module, okay, and I have all 3 and I punch in a number, all right, it's going to take all 3 that were originally different and it's going to make them all the same to the new setting. Okay. So this is a good little bit of information to understand, because sometimes you don't want things to be all the same. You just want to modify the ratio down a whatever percentage. Okay. And it looks like my video is skipping here.
It was, you're okay now.
Okay. So anyway, with the automatic white balance, I don't want to have to be, worrying about individual images. I'd rather just, I'm looking at these, I go, oh, these three, these four, this one. All right, let me just cool that off. There you go. That looks a little bit more pleasant. And bam, I did 5 in one shot. Okay. And I can do that here, or I can do that in the develop module. Just realize in the develop module, you're only going to look at one at a time, whereas in the library mode, you can look at them as a grid. Okay. And of course, you can always increase the size of your preview. Okay. So for that reason, I kind of keep my camera set to either cloudy or shade, and leave it at that. All right. The only camera that isn't is my event camera, because I'm always shooting with a flash on that one. So for that one, I have it set to flash white balance. Okay.
Which one for outdoors and which one for indoors for cloudy and shade that you use, Duck, or does it matter?
All right. And see, this is this is where we get into, I'm a lazy photographer.
Okay, I believe shade is like something like 6,500 and cloudy is something like 7,500.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I actually have a chart for that. Where's my chart? Here it is. All right. So here's the chart.
Hold it, let me take a picture. Hold it. There
Oh,
we
I
are.
can send it to you if you want.
Oh, thank you. There we
Um,
are.
The
Oh, I know what to do for sunrise and sunset now. Do
yeah.
2,000 to
So
2,000?
yeah. All right. So here's the thing. These settings here will affect your preview on the back of your camera. But if you are shooting raw, it doesn't matter, because you can
right.
set the white balance in post to whatever you want. Okay.
I tried that too and it didn't work. Okay. Mhm.
Well, no, you should be able to change it to whatever you want in post. All
Okay.
right. But when you import it, it's going to import according to what your camera was set to. All right.
Okay.
So when you
Mhm.
first import it, if you have the wrong white balance, it's going to look terrible. All right. Or it'll look wrong. Okay.
Mhm.
And then you would have to obviously go to the setting and change the white balance to what works for your particular edit.
Mhm.
Okay. The benefit of setting it in camera is, if you want to, really make sure that you're capturing the best possible image at the time of capture. So for example, you mentioned sunsets. All right. If you have your white balance set to shade or shadow, the colors are going to look, they're not going to look realistic in your preview. They're going to look washed out. All right, because you're on the wrong setting. All right. But if you really warm it up in camera, then when you preview it, you're going to be able to see something that looks a little bit closer to, what you should be expecting. Okay. Um, that's probably the biggest benefit of constantly changing your white balance to fit your shooting situation. All right. For me, I could care less what the image looks like at the time that I take it, because I know I'm probably, especially with like landscape stuff, I know I'm going to be moving the white balance not only on the overall image, but I'm going to be doing a lot of selections and local adjustments, and I'm going to be, manipulating the color balance with that, as well as color toning. So with color toning, I could throw in blue into the shadows and warmth into the highlights, something that goes completely against, your white balance settings. All right. So for that reason, I could care less, you know. And it's one less thing I have to worry about when I'm out in the field. All right. So, I start the day, I get to a location and I said, okay, well, I want to take some daylight shots. The sun's a little low, but, it's still fairly bright white light. So I'm going to put it on, the daylight setting, okay, which is, 5,000 K or 5K or yeah, 5,000 Kelvin. Okay. But, 15, 20 minutes, the sun's already coming down and that haze is coming in and the colors are turning a lot more yellow. All right. So, I'm going to change it. All right. And I have to now not only worry about my exposure in order to be able to capture that nice sunset the way that I want it, but now I have to mess around with my colors, my white balance. All right. And then as the sun gets lower and lower, we get redder and redder. And then all of a sudden we turn to purples and blues. All right. Once the sun goes over the horizon, and it's too much for me to worry about within that short window of opportunity when I need to be concentrating on so many other things. So because I can mess around with my white balance after the fact, I make things easy for myself out in the field. I keep it to one so that it gives me a relatively decent looking image. Okay. And that's about it. Okay. The only other time that I worry about white balance is if I am shooting with a client over my shoulder. All right. At that point, I don't want to be explaining, the previews are going to look horrendous, but don't worry. I'm going to edit it and make them look pretty. No, they want to make sure that what you're capturing is, looking good. All right. So at that point, you want to make sure that what's coming out of the camera looks the best as possible. Okay. So for me, I'll be a little bit more mindful about what color balance, what white balance I'm shooting in, because I have my client over my shoulder. And on top of that, I'm typically shooting tethered. So I will use Lightroom to add a certain amount of pre-editing on the import. Okay. So I'll boost the contrast a little bit. I'll add a little bit of clarity, and the client doesn't know any better. All right. So as they're coming, as I click It feeds it to the laptop. It opens it up. Unbeknownst to them, it's already gotten a little bit of pre-editing applied to it. And they open it up and go, oh, you're fantastic. Oh my God. Can't believe I hired you to do this awesome work. Look at these beautiful photos. All right. And little do they know, all the magic that goes behind the scenes. So yeah, those are the only 2 times. Other than that, I could care less. So hopefully that answers some of your questions. But if you go online and you type in white balance chart, this will come up.
Okay. So
Okay.
for a sunset, because the colors are changing sort of like blue to orange, should I probably keep it in daylight? The white balance in daylight?
Yeah, keep it in daylight. Just see, and all right. So for sunset, that's a perfect example. All right, because photographing sunsets is a lot more complicated than people understand.
Yes.
Okay. As I've always said, your camera's going to lie to you. And the first thing that lies to you when shooting a sunset is your meter. All right. Because if you expose with your meter to what the meter thinks is a proper exposure, everything is washed out, everything is dull looking, because it's actually overexposing. Okay. So for a sunset, you actually need to underexpose in order to get those those vibrant colors to come out. Okay. And if you are in a color balance that is too cool, it's going to make those colors look a little weird. All right. So for me, again, that doesn't bother me. I know that from experience that what I'm seeing on the screen, as weird as it looks, isn't going to affect it. All right. I'm going to be taking care of it later. I'm more concerned about exposure out in the field than I am about color. All right. The exposure is going to control, to a certain extent, the saturation of color. So, I don't care how it's representing those colors. I just want to make sure that I have enough saturation within those colors. All right. Because colors can be modified. Okay. Saturation, yeah, we can modify it, but when you're modifying something, it's also modifying something else, and you got to find that balance. And if you can get that in camera when you're out in the field, it just makes your job easier down the road. Okay. So I'm more concerned about getting the contrast, getting the saturation, and getting the luminosity right for the sunsets, rather than worrying about what color balance I'm in. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay. And also, if I want to photograph something in the foreground, I got to worry about lighting that as well, so that I can balance that with the background sky.
So for the moon, to get the yellow moon, I probably should have been at 3,000 Kelvin.
You can fix that in Lightroom or Photoshop.
Okay. Okay. The other thing, I have 2 cameras. I have an older Canon and a newer Canon, and one of them for style. One of those, the default is standard, and for the other one, the default is auto, and I don't know why. Should I for the one that's default auto, should I change that to standard?
The camera styles
Yeah.
in camera.
Yeah.
All right. You were here when we discussed camera style or camera profiles a couple days ago,
Yes.
or a
Yeah,
couple
yeah.
weeks ago. All right.
Yes.
So camera profiles, Again, you got to understand that anything that applies any kinds of corrections
Mhm.
within your camera is applying it to the preview. It's not applying it to the raw data.
Okay, good.
Okay. It's applying it to the preview so that way when it imports it, one is going to read what the profile settings are, just like it reads what your white balance is, and it's going to
Mhm.
apply that to the raw file on import.
Okay.
Okay, but again, like I said with the color profiles, 99% of the time I'm changing that. All right.
Mhm.
I'm changing that. All right. If I'm shooting landscape, I'll select the color profile landscape for those images because it boosts the greens and the reds, a little
Mhm.
bit nicer.
Mhm.
Um, if you do see, because I'm a generalist photographer, meaning I shoot a wide variety of stuff between products and models and headshots, and when I photograph for myself, I like doing the nature stuff. I enjoy shooting landscapes and the sunsets, and I even got a moon that I'll pull up here in a second. All right, I enjoy those. All right, what I don't like is flipping back and forth with all my settings. It's
Mhm.
frustrating. All right.
Mhm.
So I keep it to a very generic setting because I know that generic camera setting that I have in my camera is close enough. It's close enough so that when I look at it in the back and the JPEG that's applying all those presets, in camera presets, it's going to give me a representation that looks decent enough for me to get an understanding of what it is I'm working with. And
Mhm.
again, most of the time, I'm more concerned about my exposure than anything else because I know the exposure is the linchpin that controls everything else. Okay. If my exposure is too high or too low, it affects my color excuse me, my color contrast. It affects the quality of the color. Okay. Too high, things get washed out. Too low, it becomes too muted. Okay. So I'm very mindful of making sure that I get a good enough exposure for retaining the color value that I need. Okay. So for that reason, I usually keep my camera on camera neutral, all right, or camera standard. Probably the same thing. I think there's just a couple little points off somewhere, all right, because I know I'm going to be changing that as I import. And now that Lightroom has come out with um, the what's it having a mental block, adaptive color. Okay, now that Lightroom has adaptive color and Photoshop's Camera Raw has adaptive color. Okay, I apply that because 90% of the time it's going to do a really, really decent job of not only, correcting for the colors, but also modifying my exposures and balancing it. As you saw with the demonstration, how it brought the highlights down and boosted the shadows up, which is something that I was doing with sliders previously, and now it's doing it automatically, freeing up those sliders to do something a little bit more creative. So for that reason, I could care less about color profiles and white balance in the camera. I keep it to something very neutral because I know I'm not going to worry about it in camera. I'm going to worry about it in post. Okay. So if you're the outdoors photographer, the setting that might work best for you, because you're going to be looking at the back of that camera and say, all right, did I get a good photo? All right. So you want that JPEG to be as representative as possible. All right. So for you, maybe keeping it in camera landscape makes better sense. All right. Because you do a lot of outdoor stuff. Okay. Or maybe keeping it in Adobe in a camera standard or camera neutral works, because it doesn't matter what you shoot, you're going to be modifying that anyway, okay, which is what I do. Okay. Does that answer the question, or gives you a little bit more clarity on that?
Yes. And as you were talking,
We
I
lost
went back
Bob.
to my moon photo
Okay.
and I changed the temperature.
Yep.
And it now looks the way it looked when I was outdoors the other night. There we
Okay.
go.
All right.
All right.
Because I actually pulled up my moon photo, and I was gonna show you how you can turn it into blue moon. You saw me standing alone, to a nice
Oh,
golden one. To
yeah.
we can make it. We could even make it a blood red moon. Whoa, that's too blood red.
All
All right.
right.
So
Ah,
so we can, let's see, maybe not so much yellow, a little bit more red. There we go. Okay. Or we could even turn it green. Moldy cheese. Oh my goodness. So, but yeah, the white balance. All right, and let's see what did I have? Um, Let me pull it up. Camera neutral, I think, is what I shot it at. All right, so that's camera. Let me reset my white balance. So it looks like, yeah, as shot, this is how it came off my camera.
Mhm.
All right, so camera neutral with white balance. I think it was either on shade or cloudy, because, oh no, you know what, if I shot it with my event camera, it was probably left on flash. All right, again, it's one of those things I don't look to change. I don't bother looking at it, because I know it I could care less. Okay. So yeah, so that's what it came, that's how it came. Oops, let's see. Oh, come on. Zoom in here. Zoom, zoom, zoom. There we go. So that's, it's got a little bit of warmth, but it's pretty neutral gray. Okay. But with a properly exposed moon, with the proper white balance, this is actually realistic. It's the reflected sun. It's a reflected light from the sun that gives it that yellow glow.
Okay.
So, okay.
Thank you. I'm still disappointed that Monday night, I mean, not Monday night,
Oh,
Friday night, 2 in the morning, it was cloudy.
yeah,
8 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock Thursday night was perfect. Yeah.
yeah. The best time to shoot the moon is just as it crests over the horizon, because the atmosphere makes it look bigger than it really is.
Uh, moonset or moonrise?
Either.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
either.
I use photo. Can I pronounce this correctly? Photo ephemeris. That
Oh, ephemeris.
photo ephemeris.
Yeah.
Ephemeris. I used photo ephemeris to figure out where, and when the moon was going to be
Yeah.
in a certain place.
Great
And I
tool, isn't it?
it is on the desktop. It's a great tool, and I
Yeah.
like the fact that you can hide the stuff on the edge, and
Yes.
therefore get a timeline on the bottom where you see the horizon.
Yeah, and you'll see when it goes, when it
Yes,
crests,
yes,
and when it's
yes,
yeah,
yes. I love that.
yeah,
And I listened to I watched the tutorial that goes with it. I mean, we've always been told that golden hour is 1 hour after sunrise.
yeah, roughly,
Yeah,
yes.
approximately. And Femris says a golden hour is when the sun is 0 to
Degrees,
six
yes,
percent. Yeah, 0 to 6 degrees,
yes, yeah. But
which sounds a lot.
nobody's going to be out in the field with a sextant measuring that, so so that's why they give that ballpark hour after, and
Yeah,
uh because more even in the field you're going to be taking a series of photos throughout the whole entire process anyway, so you're
yeah.
going to go from sunset right into the nautical twilight, into the blue hour, into yeah, so
It's also tough here because there is so much light pollution where I live.
yes, yeah, yeah, some of the best locations is down by the shore, or in the quiet corners of Connecticut, Litchfield County, Putnam counties, up in those areas. Um, if you can get to a park that has a relatively high vantage point, that's a good spot, you know. But yeah, same with Milky Ways. Uh, it's interesting because I'm not I, I'm not one to really pursue astronomical photography. It's just one of those things that, if the opportunity is there, I'll do it. I'm not going to go seeking it out. The compositions where you have a nice landscape and you see, this beautiful Milky Way sky, they're gorgeous images. They're mind-blowing images. You know, it's just I could care less about them. I appreciate them. I could care less about doing them for myself. That said, several years ago, I had the opportunity to get together with a bunch of photographers, and we did a trip to Monhegan Island. Monhegan Island, off of the coast of Maine. It's an artist community, and we went during the off season. And let me tell you, when it's a small little isolated fishing village, that once the sun sets, the island goes dark. And when I mean dark, don't be outside on a moonless night, because you're not going to see squat. All right. Uh, People are in bed, no house lights. I think there's only like 3 street lights in the whole entire, island. Um, and on a clear night, all you got to do is just sit back in a lounge chair, and you're going to see the entire Milky Way with your own eyes. It was friggin' phenomenal. And of course, I had to get my camera out and take some photos. Uh, but zero light pollution. It was phenomenal. So, yeah, if you can get into a situation like that, go for it. Um, there is one guy on YouTube that does. That's all he does is a lot of astrophotography landscapes. He does a lot of like light painting for the foreground, and he'll have the Milky Way or the stars for his sky. And he's out of Australia. Um, Off the top of my head, I can't remember the guy's name, but if you can find his channel, he walks through his entire process of how he does everything, and it's just mind blowing his work. So I highly suggest looking him up.
Who is this?
Let's see if I can do a quick search. Let's see. Where's okay. Let's see if I can find his channel.
David Magro.
He's an older guy.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode.
Is it Nightscape Images, I think? Yeah, Nightscape Images. Richard Taddy is one of the guys that I've seen that just really blows me away.
Hi there, everybody.
Okay.
Welcome back to the channel. Now,
Yep,
Okay,
that's-
this one here,
yep.
it's Nightscape Images is the author, fine art, light painting, Milky Way photo, full edit.
Here.
So there must be a whole bunch of Milky.
This one here.
Okay, hold on. Whoops. Yep, that's the one I'm looking
Yep,
at. Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
Let me tell you, his images just blow my mind of what he can do, and he combines light painting with astrophotography, and just looking through his thumbnails, they're awe-inspiring. Look at this. And he goes through his entire process, and as he's going towards the location, he'll explain, in his monologue, he'll explain how he discovered that location. Oftentimes it's by accident. He's just driving somewhere and he looks and goes, from experience, he knows kind of what to look for now. And he goes, ooh, that would make a great, night scene. And then he'll show you what it looks like during the day, and you're like, oh, that's crappy looking. Why would you want to photograph that? But he'll walk through the whole entire process, and it's just unbelievable what he does with his images. It's just fantastic. So if you get a chance, look through his catalog and follow his process. It's just very inspirational.
Ooh, moon chasing. I see moon chasing. All right.
Chasing the lunar eclipse. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There we are. There we are.
So absolutely. Light painting, time lapses, Milky Ways. So yeah. Very recommended. All right. Any other? We lost Bob. Oh no, Bob.
All I had to do was change the temperature, I'm just so pissed at myself for thinking of it. Because I changed, of course, in a landscape situation, I'll change the temperature if it just doesn't look the way I saw it with my eyes. And
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't think of that with the moon.
Okay. Get yourself a little post-it note, and on it write, what would duck do? Check white balance. And then take
Yeah.
that, put it in your wallet. So next time you're, out there, you go, oh wait, I got that note. What would duck do? Check your white balance.
What about the picture that got away because you put your camera away? I had something like that last week, and I can't remember what it was. But the one that really, this was when we had Mid-Connecticut photography. We had a trip to New York City, and after we did Central, some of us split off, and I went by myself to Rockefeller Center
Okay.
where they were ice skating. And I was taking pictures of people as they were ice skating. I put my camera away and people were clapping. And I looked down. It was a man got down on his knees and proposed to his girlfriend.
Yeah.
If I had, now I know what happened. Remember the eagle flying pictures I posted last week?
Mm-hmm.
Those were the only ones that were close enough to get. I had just
Right.
turned off the camera. I was going to go back into the shed and warm my hands because it was cold. And all of a sudden they were there, and luckily they were there long enough for me to get a photo, but I almost missed it. If I had
Mm-hmm.
turned away, if I had turned the camera off 30 seconds earlier and walked to the room, I would have missed that.
Yeah. 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 As a
What
matter
have you missed? What have you missed in your time?
Oh Christ, I so much. Yeah. It's par for the course, you know. When I have my camera in hand, my head's on a swivel. I'm constantly looking all over the place, uh, and especially when shooting events. Well, you shoot events too.
Yes.
When you're in the middle of an event, it's 360 degrees activity.
Mhm.
So you need to keep your head on a swivel because, I may be gravitating to this side of the room, but then something's starting to happen behind me. If I don't have my head on a swivel and my ears open, I'll miss it.
Mhm.
And I don't know how many times uh, I'll be shooting something here and then something happens over there. And by the time I turn around and get myself in position, the moment's gone. Happens all the time, all the time. You just can't, you can't dwell on it. You can't go, shit, I missed it,
Mhm.
because you're going to miss things no matter what,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's why I shoot in aperture, and because I always used to shoot in manual,
Mm-hmm.
and the Yukon Women's Parade, Victory Parade 9 years ago, I was shooting at the people coming towards me, and I knew one of the people in the parade. Do you remember? He's still on the radio, Picosi. You know who he is?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we were in college together, and I yelled to him, but by the time I was able to take a picture of him, he had already gone by me, and I turned to take a picture of him. He's waving at me,
Mhm.
and because I was in manual, I was taking pictures originally away from the sun, and when I took a picture of him, it was towards the sun, and I did not
Yeah,
get a good
yeah,
picture of him. So
yeah.
I learned.
Another thing that happens to me. All right. You guys know the expression, mental block here, the decisive moment. Henry Cartier-Bresson coined it, the decisive moment. It's that peak moment in action that creates the perfect photo. All right. Uh, when I'm shooting events, I tend to look for those peak moments, those decisive moments. All right, I want to capture those decisive moments, but because those decisive moments happen within a fraction of a flow of time, you have to be anticipatory. You have to recognize what it is you're looking at. All right. However, what I find is that those decisive moments are very fleeting. So if I'm not quick, I'll miss it. All right. So what I tend to do is as soon as I see a situation occurring, I'll take a shot. All right. If I miss the moment, at least I know I got the moment leading up to it. And while it may not be the best, it's second best. Okay. You don't know how many times I'll take a couple. I'm anticipating the action. I'll take that initial preparatory image, and then the that peak doesn't happen. All right. So I'm like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm waiting for it. It's not happening. I'll take another shot, and while the camera's cycling, the moment happens. Happens all the time. It's frustrating. It's like, you know, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. It's not being delivered. Hell, I'll take another shot. Bam. It gives it to me. Right after I friggin' press the shutter. So, you know, it's just part of the territory. You know, can't win them all. All right. Once the weather starts really getting warm, I want to plan some outdoor stuff. So if anybody's got any ideas for where they might want to go for a photo shoot, send them to me. You know, we'll set something up. Okay. If there's a technique you want to learn that you're not sure of, you know, and you think it might work to build a workshop around, let me know. You know, I'll put something together. Okay.
I have an observation about last week, which is going to lead to a question which deals with what you just said.
Okay.
You know, at the end of your session working in the studio and doing that, you said, go out and do something creative.
Okay.
Well, and so I've been thinking about this on a larger thing with my photography endeavors, but I realized I'm not good with a flash other than the one mounted on my camera. And what's more, I don't know if I really want to spend some time learning. I'd rather go out and take other kinds of photos, you know. And it's just a matter of time if I get it when I have time to play with it and all that kind of stuff. But it's interesting because the next couple of days in Facebook, I kept seeing these, all these trick photos, you know, or special effect photos, and this guy running around with lights and jumping and farting around.
Oh
with
yeah,
aspect.
I think you sent me a couple examples.
I might have
Yeah.
tried to say anyway. So I was looking at that, you know, and I go, and then I started thinking about, well, you know, I really like, one of the reasons I take pictures is just, it's an excuse for me to get outside.
Yes.
Yes.
And what I've noticed now that spring is coming, I'm really getting the itch to get outside again, and thinking about what you said about taking, because I do like taking flowers, I've noticed, but not so much in the studio processing.
Right.
But I thought, well, now it's a good time to get out, you know, but then you started talking about tripods, and, you know, things I'd like to do, I guess, leading up to your, two things I want to do outside is maybe start looking more at some landscape type of
Right.
photography, because I've done it. And then begs the question, do I need a neutral density filter? And then the other thing I like to do outside and be outside is try some close-up photography or some of that trick photography, but doing it outside,
Yep.
you know. Because one of the reasons I got this last tripod I got was that you can mount it upside down,
Yeah,
close to
yeah,
the
yeah.
ground,
Get
that
close
type
to the
of
ground.
thing.
Yeah.
So, kind of leads to my last thing you said. I like to do something outside and both maybe landscape
Mm-hmm.
and or can we figure out something to do in the woods? That's fun. I've seen some people that go through an awful lot to take pictures of mushrooms and that kind of nonsense.
Right.
You know,
I knew you were gonna go there, and I want to. I a while back actually. Now that I'm looking at it, 2015. I was introduced to Dr. Jafrida Park.
Aha.
You ever been there?
Oh, yes.
Beautiful park.
Yes.
Great hiking. Overlooks that nice little lake. When you come into the park, into the parking lot, it takes you over by where the dam is, the berm, and then you can cross over that and take the hiking trail that goes up onto the cliff, or if you go to the left, you can take the low road. Okay, and I took the low road one day, and I don't know, maybe 50, 75 feet in, and I started noticing all these mushrooms everywhere. So I kind of ventured off the path, and I'm like looking at all these mushrooms, and I decided I was going to, I mean, look at this. This is unprocessed. This is straight out of camera. Okay. And I did exactly what you were talking about, Brian. I took my camera, hung it upside down from the center column. I inverted it, and it allowed me to get really really close. Okay, and what I ended up doing is well, this um, anyway. At one point, I came across a tree that had a little bit of a hollow right here. Okay, and after watching all those mushrooms, the imagination started running. So I got some pebbles and I created a little walkway. I don't know if you can see it. Oops. I don't know if you can see it right here. All right. I placed, I found some flat little stones. Okay. And what I ended up doing is I recropped it and I photoshopped a little door and window. So I got a little and a little mailbox. Oh, you know what? I should be sharing my screen. Duh. Share. There we go. Okay. So, there we go. How's that? Look at that. Okay. Um, and like I said, this was done 2015. So I literally had to draw, and or it was a combination of using textures. I found a little funky window asset that I took off of some old house somewhere. But the door, I wanted to look like a little hobbit door. I literally built that with, some texture, an old hinge, and a paintbrush, you know, and then an old postal box. But the nice thing is now with generative AI, you can just say, hey, I want a little hobbit door right here, and you can have AI do some of this work for you. Okay. So, like for example, the mushrooms. Okay, let's find this mushroom here. Actually, let me go ahead and open it up in Photoshop. Let's see how easy this is. Okay. All right. We can come up here and we can go like, all right, we'll put in here stove, pipe, chimney. All right, and hit enter. Give it a second to have the program do what it's due. Oh. Oh, okay. Well, there's something. It's clever. It's not quite, you know. Let me move it over. It's good enough, yeah. You know. And you know, maybe let's see here. We'll do small window with shutters. All right, small window with shutters. And see what it gives us. You know. So the thing with, you know, quote unquote creative, yeah, that's not giving us let's try small gabled window with shutters. So the thing with these type of creative shots is that when you're out in the field, you really don't know what the end result. Oh, that's cute. You don't really know what the end results is going to be. I kind of like that first one. Okay. But if you have kind of like a concept, all right. Like for example, I want to photograph mushrooms, and I want to turn them into fairy houses. Then you know that you have to set your camera really, really low. You want to try to get it so that you're shooting up at the mushroom rather than down on the mushroom. You want to compose, and you want to imagine, you know, what you can do with this particular setup. And then manipulate the surrounding, kind of like I did with the base of the tree. I took little rocks to make a little pathway. That way, I didn't have to build it, you know, from scratch. It was already in camera, you know. So you can, you know, say, all right, maybe I want a little fence. So I'm going to get some sticks and I'm going to stick them in. I'm not going to build the entire fence, but I'm going to put some sticks. That way, when it comes time to creating it in post, once I get the photo home, I have these sticks in place. One, to remind me what the intent was when I was photographing it out in the field. And two, makes it a little easier to build, because now all I got to do is, you know, figure out how to get the stiles to the fence rather than the entire fence, you know. And then just go hog wild with your imagination, all right. But having that kind of pre-thought, even though you don't know the particulars of what the end result is going to be, having a concept as you approach the each image really helps solidify a more solid foundational image for you to build on later. Okay. And then as what happened with me in this situation, once I found one mushroom, then all of a sudden my eyes attuned to looking for mushrooms now, and all of a sudden I noticed that they were everywhere, and it's like, oh my God, there's more here to photograph than I have time for. So now you can look, okay, well, this one's half eaten by bugs, skip that one, look for another one. I found one that was half buried by pine needles. I ended up kind of like digging them out from the pine needles, only to discover that there was like a cluster of them. So things like that. What happens is one image will generate ideas that will inform you of what to look for the next image, and it tends to be a building process, and you don't be surprised if after you've shot 3 or 4 or 5, you go back to the original one that you found and you shoot it in a completely different way, because now you're realizing what you did at the beginning of the session isn't quite going to work based on everything that you've learned in the process. All right. So absolutely go for it. Hopefully that kind of helps.
Hey, two things, Duck. When you were showing us the little steps up to the tree,
Yep.
it reminded me of, and I think I might have brought up this place before, Jessica's Garden and Lobster Shack out in Marlborough, Connecticut. It's kind of funny if you know where this is, that there's a lobster shack way out there.
Right.
Anyway, it's a lobster shack and garden center, but they've got this little lake there, and well, Marie Claire and I went there for lunch and just to check it out. I think we spent 2.5 hours there,
Okay.
just hanging around, and around the lake and the pond, they've done that to some of the trees.
Oh,
where they turn
yeah.
them into
Okay.
little scenarios. But there's also, it would be a great place to go and just, find little things like this, because I know if the time's right, they've got this kind of thing going on. So just something to mention.
Right.
Oh, and the last thing I was just going to say about my other talk about this and that and your session last week, I came across this 25-year-old photo of Mother Mary up in Salve Regina University.
Okay.
Anyway, I was processing it. It wasn't that good of a photo, but there were these two pieces of light shining through the trees that were kind of distracting
Okay.
because of the time, So I'm thinking, looking at it, should I get rid of those? Because I know how to do that now. And then I thought, no, I think I'll just add another blotch of light on the left.
There you go.
So I did, some of the stuff with the radial gradient and all that kind of thing, and bam, and now it gave it this kind of ethereal look,
Right. Right.
kind of showing through the trees, and maybe it's, other little angelic things, but it just made me chuckle that I did the opposite, and it worked out. And spent about 5 minutes on it.
Yeah. You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I, in the past, I have said that, every once in a while, go back through your catalog and revisit some of those photos. Because now that your skills have progressed, you can take some of those photos that you may have dismissed back then and do something a lot more creative with them now. All right. Here's my setup that I used with the inverted post.
So yeah, I'm going to. So is the camera up to side? Is that mounted to your camera lens?
Yeah. So
Some kind of strap there.
this is my 7200. All right, actually, let's go zoom in. All right. And so the camera has, or the lens has the ring that goes around.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With the collar, you know, with that's got the kind of like the handle thingy here.
Yeah.
All right. And what I did is I have a plate mounted to that, and I just rotated the collar so that the collar was upside down. And then the tripod, or yeah, my tripod, this center post, I took it out and I inverted it. All right, see, there's the ball head. Okay, mounted the collar to the ball head, and it allowed me to keep the camera in the upright position. Okay, but that's not necessary. All right, because you know you can shoot with your camera upside down, and most cameras understand that the camera is upside down and will auto rotate it. If not, you can rotate it when you import it. All
And
right,
so that I was wondering
and you
about
can
that
see
when
there's
you
my mushroom.
when you were talking about the pictures, because typically those, I've got it set up a tripod to do that, but I haven't done it yet. But I always thought I just would mount the camera upside down to the normal camera mount. Is that what people
Yeah,
typically do?
yeah,
Okay.
and all right. I think you can probably see it on here. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Oops.
Yeah, there's something you pull out and turn it
Yeah,
upside down.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a little button right here. I don't know
Yeah.
if, yeah, I don't know if you can see that. There's a little button. All right, so when you know what? I got my tripod right here. I got my tripod right here. Hold on a second. Let's switch it over. This is the tripod that's in that photograph. Okay, let me just close it up a little bit. Here it is, the tripod that I was demonstrating on repairing. Okay. So this allows me to move the center post up and down. Okay. Some tripods will have the little crank. Those are like the cheaper tripods will have a little crank. This just has a thumb screw. Okay. And I don't know if we can see it. Yeah, there you go. See that little button right there?
Yep.
Okay. So what you do is bring this till it's like almost out. Okay. Then you're going to reach in, hit that button, and it's going to allow, oh, hit it again from here. It's going to allow this to come completely out. Okay. This is actually designed, this is a Manfrotto. So this is actually designed to, let me get this back in here. Of course, now that I got it out, oh, here we go. This is designed to mount this way, right? As well, okay. But if I want to, there's a little collar here. If I want to, I just press that button, and it slides out of that collar completely, and then I just insert it from the bottom. You know, and you gotta make sure you line it up properly, you know, the whole 9 yards. Press the button in. I'm trying to do this blind here. Where is it? Oh, right here. Yeah, right. Triangular. Oh, here we go. Here we go. one of these ways. Anyway, yeah, here we go. Here we go. It's been a while since I've done this. There we go. Now we got it. And then kind it back up, and you can place this, or oh no, this is actually my other tripod. But it's the same tripod, just this is the smaller one of the two. And then I just mount my camera to there, and I'm upside down. And the nice thing is on these, you know, you can spread the legs out. If you can get your camera or your tripod that allows you to splay the legs out like this, you may not even need to invert it. Just keep it here because this allows it to really sit almost on the ground.
I've got a Manfrotto. I think it's pretty similar to yours. I don't know if it's
This
sideways
is
thing,
a
but
Manfrotto. The other thing is get yourself a bean bag. If you really want to get low to, really want to get low to the ground, get a bean bag. All right. You don't need to buy it. You can make one. You know, get yourself an old pair of jeans. Cut a section of the pant leg, and literally sew a pocket out of the pant legs and fill it with dry beans. That's all it is. Dry beans, lentil beans, and you got yourself a bean bag. And then that way you can just take the bean bag, put it on the ground, and set the camera on top of the bean bag. You can't get lower to the ground than that.
nope.
You know. Well, actually, you can, because in this photo, right, the one thing you're going to notice is I'm shooting on a little bit of a hillside. All right. So if we were to look at this, I have the mushroom. Actually, let me let's see too. The mushroom is here. All right. And there's a little bit of a dip before it goes to the bottom, and then it dips again and then goes into the water. Okay. So my camera is literally right here shooting up at the mushroom. So that's another way of guaranteeing that you're going to get really, really low, is find something that's on a bit of a hillside, or maybe growing on the side of a fallen log. You know, some pathways, you know, there may be a little bit of a slope on the sides of the pathway, or a little rock outcropping, and it'll have mushrooms growing out from there. You know, look for those situations that allows you to get your camera below the level, and then you're basically creating a hero shot of the mushroom, or a worm's eye view. And that's going to give you probably your strongest composition with this. So hopefully that gives you some ideas and some inspiration.
Yeah, because really, when you think about getting out there into the woods, what I've noticed about Connecticut is that, well, when the spring starts springing, that's a really good time.
Mm-hmm.
Summer's kind of hot and steamy and buggy, you know.
Yeah.
And ticks.
Yeah. But it's those humid days that's going to give you the best results for mushrooms, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Another place, since you're right here in Shelton, if have you ever what's I don't even know the name of the street. The road that goes right into Huntington Center. All right,
Okay.
from like Corporate Towers area.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, so or if you come up Buddington Road,
Yeah.
all right, or from either the Trap Falls area. All
Yep.
right, going in towards Huntington Center. As you're going towards the Huntington Center, on the right hand side, there's a little park. It's not really a park. It's a walking trail. All right. There's maybe enough room to park 4 or 5 cars. It's not paved. All right, but you'll see the white sign that you normally see like at the entrance of a walking path. Okay. I have found a ton of mushrooms on fallen logs just inside in that walking path right here in Huntington. So take a little drive, not far from you. You know, give me a call. I'll go with you.
I I think that's part of the Shelton Trails,
Yes, it is.
which I I keep wanting to get my knees healthy enough because I'm on their mailing list to go out and they do their trail cleanup and that type
Oh
of thing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I've been wanting to get well enough to get out there and move around and do some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know the one you're talking about. I drive by that when I'm coming back, and I've seen a number of those trails, and I
Yeah.
got to get out
Yeah,
and start doing a little research. But
yeah. And then, of course, by the intermediate school, there's the trails that go around the reservoir area and the power line area. All right, you can probably find something there as well.
and I just thought of another one down in Trumbull, the Quonic River Trail there,
Yeah.
the old railroad. I've walked that trail, but there's a lot of little side things that go down to the river there to
Yes.
look photographic, and my
Yep.
sweetie never likes to get off the beaten track, but
Yeah. But well, the nice thing is, what I've noticed, like for example, with Jafrita Park and with some of the trails here in Shelton, especially the trails where not through deciduous trees, but through pine trees that remain pretty well covered during the winter season, and you get that nice bed of actually I'll show you what I mean. That nice bed of needles on the ground. Right here. Look at that. You know, um, these kind of locations are maybe 2 or 3 feet from the path. So your
Yeah.
wife can stay on the path. You're still within eyesight, and 3 or 4 feet off the path, they're right there. Obviously, you got to go during the right time of the season. They're not always going to be found. You just like anything, you have to forage for it. But what I've noticed is if I see mushrooms on my lawn, I know that a location like this is going to be littered.
yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Keep an eye open around the neighborhood.
Yeah, actually, I did shoot one. Let's see, decide. Mushroom. This one here. This one was in my backyard. A tree fell in my backyard, missed my shed, fortunately. But the interesting thing was that there was this fungal growth that kind of stuck out from the side of the tree. And when the tree fell, the new growth started growing perpendicular to it. All right, let's see if I can show F. Okay,
You use
so
this. You use this as an example. Excuse me, my voice went.
all
You
right,
use this as an example in one of our
yes,
sessions.
yep. So here, oh, uh, let's see. Here is, where is it? Shift tab. Oops. All right, I don't know if you can see it, but this right here, there's one here, and there was another one that were, the tree was growing this way, and they were just kind of growing out of it like this. Okay. And then when the tree fell, the orientation of it shifted. Let's see if, oh, now I can't. Why can't I get it to go back? Oh, yeah, there we go. The orientation shifted. So here's the original mushroom right here. Okay. And then the new growths started going like this. It's like this, it's a fungus, but it knows which way is up. It knows which way is up. So yeah, so what I ended up doing with these is I did some light painting initially, and then I modified it, and that's what I came up with. Okay, so you got plenty of inspiration.
I don't need no stinking Botox.
Yeah, I had you take yourself a little, power, as long as it's got, significant power. Take a small little LED flashlight, and use that, and do literally light painting on mushrooms. That's all it is.
Well, I bought this LumiCube
Mm-hmm.
light, which it goes up to, it's 10 watts.
Yeah,
It gets pretty.
that's got a lot of power. All right.
Yeah.
The thing is, even though it's small, it's still a little bit clunky. Um, when you do light painting, it's nice to have an array of tools because you
Yeah.
never know. Like for example, with this one here, I definitely needed a small little flashlight because some of these spaces here, I mean, I don't know if you can see the leaves here for scale. Um, the space in here was maybe 2 inches, So trying to get a flashlight in here to illuminate some areas, you can see I actually missed a spot. We got a black hole of no light in there. So having an array of tools is going to help. And the nice thing is that they're small enough that you can carry them in your pocket. All right. Yeah. What you want to do is, if you get yourself a small little flashlight, definitely test it out. So if you can go to like Walmart or a sporting goods store or something, test it out. Make sure that it's got enough, candle power, which is something you can't do if you order online. You can't test it. And just make sure that, it's got enough power so that when you use it in, something like this, it's serviceable. So, okay.
Cool.
All right. So that's your assignment. I want to see what creative stuff you come up with. All right. So, I'll have to go check out the trails here in Shelley, and I have to go back to Jafrita Park. I love that park. I really do. Maybe we'll do an event of shooting mushrooms. So, okay.
Sounds good to me.
All righty, guys. Any last minute questions before we wrap it up?
Kettletown State Park has some good mushrooms.
Kettletown?
Yeah, in Southbury.
Okay, cool. Ooh. Are the ladies in your group up for a rendezvous at the park?
Hmm.
You never know.
I can get people, well, most of them are cell phone people. I could get
Yeah,
them to
that's
come
fine.
to Gia. I can get them. Well, in fact, I had a bus trip to Giuffrida and a few other places.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
but if 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 we could do something where it's feasible for people with cell phones,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
um, yeah,
Christ,
because
mushrooms, perfect. That cell phone
Mhm.
can get into spaces that a big DSLR can't.
Oh, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we had one. This is when Sue ran
Shutterbug.
Shutterbuds. We had an outing for Christmas at Hubbard Park to take a picture of the lights of the trees.
Right.
The light, the lights there, and so we all had our big cameras. This is 2013. Nobody was using a cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had one guy who got under the fence, who put his cell phone under the fence and the fence was around the light, and he was able to shoot up into the light and got a good picture.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. See, you never know. You
Yeah.
never know. But yeah, maybe that's something to consider for this year's little outing.
Yeah.
Shoot
If
mushrooms.
you want to scout out Giuffrida Park ahead of time before you run an event, I'll go with you if you want me to.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you a ring.
Good.
I'll give you a call too, Brian. And
Yeah, Kettlestone's a nice place. I think that was the last state park I was visiting.
yeah,
They had just
Kettletown,
reopened.
yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been to Kettletown.
It's a nice park.
Yeah, I have to check it out. I may have. I don't know. I've been to so many parks. So, all righty, guys. As always, it's a pleasure. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Um, oh, uh, let's see. One thing I do want
don't score well. Now, I claim there could be a bias. Uh, Somebody we know who runs these things claims there isn't, but and the thing is, I'm liberal. It's like, and I'm thinking there's a bias here. But anything that I do that's religious or patriotic does not score well.
Mm. Yeah, you never know. And this is probably why I don't enter competitions myself. It's very subjective
Yes.
for the most part. I know when I'm asked to be a judge for a competition, I try my hardest not to be subjective. It's very difficult. You have to have the experience first of all, and you have to have the fortitude to not allow your personal feelings to influence your decision making. So I tend to look for objective things when I judge, when I score a competition, but thematically, it's got to hit that emotional chord, and emotional chords are very subjective. So it's tough. Yeah. The other thing is, yeah, certain themes have a very niche group that appreciates it. And then, anybody outside from that group, it's like, I could care less about it.
I know.
So you run into that problem.
I know what you mean by that because take anything that I post on Facebook, which doesn't bother me. Classic cars
Mm.
get fewer likes than other things, but that is a niche audience.
Very
It's
much
like,
so.
yeah, very narrow
Oh,
audience.
yes. Yeah.
But North Haven Camera Club, there are quite a few people in that group who like classic cars,
Yeah.
and I posted, I posted the schedule there, and maybe a different camera club would not be interested in classic
Yeah.
cars, but that club is.
Yeah. Uh, and if the goal is to score higher, then things like that need to be taken into account when you make your submission. What is what does this club lean towards that this other club doesn't? What has been demoted with this group, and what has been promoted, and then just go find what the weaknesses and the strengths are, and go for the strengths. So if you've identified that, well, this group, they kind of stay away from religious iconography and patriotic iconography, don't submit those, because
Yeah.
then you're working against yourself in that
Oh,
that
in all fairness to North Haven Camera Club, the judging is done by people outside of North Haven Camera Club. When I talked about classic cars, I'm talking about promoting it to members within a
No,
club.
yeah, no, I understand. I
But
understand. Yeah.
what I said about bias, it has nothing to do with North Haven Camera Club.
Oh, okay. So it's the judges. All right.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, and they change all the time, so you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the judges we get are from different aspects of
Mm-hmm.
photography.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you've recognized that certain themes rank lower, don't submit
Mhm.
those. Understand. Read the room.
Yeah, I
as
know.
they say, read the
I
room,
know.
and
know.
just feed them what they want to see.
You know what?
and it's
Judges
going
never
to.
go into the woods. Think about it, Doug.
Yeah.
Judges never go into the woods.
Yeah. So there you go. Okay. All right, guys. As always, it's been a pleasure. Nothing next week. We'll see you the week after. Okay.
Have a good one.
All right.
Take care.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Thank you for watching Learning Photography with Duck. Brought to you in association with Milford Photo, your local full-service camera store. Located in downtown Milford, Connecticut, Milford Photo offers you a personalized shopping experience. From the latest camera gear to printing and framing services. And, of course, educational workshops to teach you the finer aspects of photography. Don't forget to tell them Duck sent you.